Hello and welcome to another episode of our Soulful Sunday series. I'm Cheryl-lya from Wellbeing Showcase, and today we are talking to the lovely Adrienne Kirk, who is a counsellor and has exhibited with us and done some many wonderful things, and we're going to be discussing all things counselling today. So Adrienne, welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you for inviting me. It's lovely to be here.
My pleasure. So I just thought maybe if you can start us off by telling us a little bit about yourself, what inspired you to go into counselling and doing the work that you're doing.
Okay, all right. So before I was a psychotherapist, I was a university lecturer, and part of my job there was supporting students who were struggling. And that after a while, I realised that the best part of my job was the bit where I was supporting the students. So I went off and did a little certificate in counselling and psychotherapy and loved that so much that by the time it ended, I had signed up for the masters to do the full training. And having finished that, I did some working with charities, and then I've continued that and also set up a private practice.
Fantastic. And it's, sort of psychotherapy, counselling and that kind of thing. Sometimes people can feel a little bit embarrassed to ask for help, or, they might see it as a little bit airy-fairy or woo-woo or, sort of something like that. So what would you say to sort of encourage them to sort of come along and get help, because it's so important?
Oh, absolutely. And I think sometimes people think, well, if they've got a friend, then maybe they could just talk to their friend, and what would be the benefit of talking to someone like me? And I think that the main benefit is that I'm not emotionally involved in the situation. So it means that I am simply there for my client. And I don't have my own story to tell. They don't have to worry about my feelings. They get to say whatever they want in a really uncensored way. And what that means is that we can work on connections that come up that they hadn't really made. And that means that we can maybe deal with stuff that has come up from their childhood that's now impacting on how they are now, that they wouldn't. It takes the conversation to somewhere that they wouldn't with friends, I think. And I think that can be really useful with someone who's trained and who has knowledge about what those connections might mean and how that then plays out in their life.
Absolutely, and I think it's quite a powerful process as well, because it's sort of, it's that sense of being in a safe space, as you said, where you're uncensored, unrestricted, you can say whatever's coming out. But there's also that, sometimes I think when you're sort of chatting to a friend, your friends or your family, now you say, well, if they go, don't go. And they maybe sometimes, as much as they love you, they won't necessarily see some of those underlying sort of connections.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, they want to make you feel better in the moment. So what that does is it can quite close down that conversation and not really give you the space you need to fully experience. I think going through therapy can be really tough. It can be really hard. You learn a lot about yourself. But it's also the outcome of that means that you have a much better sense of yourself and you feel much more in control of where you're going and how you're thinking and how you respond to situations. So maybe learning how to respond rather than react and not really know why you've reacted that way. Yeah, I think that's the thing. So while you're right, while some people might see it as a bit wooey or a bit sort of unnecessary, actually it's there's good science behind it, and it's really powerful and hard work.
Absolutely. And I think that there's also a sense of knowing yourself at a deeper or a core level when you've done this kind of work, that sort of gives you a very strong foundation for moving forward in other areas of your life.
Absolutely. And a good therapist will challenge you as well. You know, we will discuss what somebody's core values are, and then they might tell me something, and I will say, so where are your core values in that? Where are they showing up in that situation? And it can lead people to really reflect on who they are and who they want to be. And actually, I had a client just yesterday say to me that really he's completely changed the way in which he sees himself as much more as a facilitator now, thinking about what his core values are and how he does actually respond to people rather than thinking of himself as a go-getter, which is how he was sort of conceptualizing himself before, and then not being very comfortable in that place. It's made a profound difference.
Yes, it sounds like a huge transformation for him as well.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. But you know, that's taken a little while. You know, we've been working together for some weeks, and so you know, these things don't come overnight. As you say, you get to know yourself at a really deep level, and that level of exploration and trust that you need to have with your therapist, that builds over a period of time. It doesn't just happen in weeks 1 or 2.
Absolutely, because I read somewhere or sort of a while back that just it takes sort of quite a number of years for these problems to develop over life. So it makes sense that they're not going to change overnight.
No, absolutely. We have a saying in therapy about neurons that fire together, wire together, right? So if we have spent since childhood, if we've spent our time practicing putting others first and not being aware of our own needs, we're really expert at that. And it takes a long time to unpick that and to start showing some self-compassion, and realizing that we're worth the same level of care and attention that we might give those around us.
Absolutely, and I think as well a lot of people sort of, and certainly in the past I have myself as well, so it's oh, it's a little bit selfish to put myself before others, and the answer really is no.
No, absolutely. You can't nourish others from an empty cup, you know. So you owe it to them and yourself to nourish yourself so that you can give of yourself in the way that you want to.
And that then obviously has a positive impact not just on the person that you're working with, but on their immediate family, their friends, and sort of like these ripples of joy that move through.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, whilst we say, you know, obviously you can't change someone else when you come to therapy. So I did once have a client who came saying that she wanted to be able to change her sister. Um, we can't do that, but you change how you interact, and that changes the interaction, and then that will have a different outcome. And so, you know, that's what we're after really, is getting, as you said, a deep sense of yourself so that you know your motivations and you know what it is you're trying to do, where you're trying to go, who you're trying to be, and that everything you do then is in service to that.
And it's so hugely beneficial practice that if we could say to everyone, do it.
Absolutely,
But
yes.
tell me, Adrienne, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, how would they contact you?
So there's a number of ways of contacting me. I've got a website and I can be emailed through that at info@adriennekirk.london. I'm also a member of the BACP, which is one of the big accrediting bodies of psychotherapists, so I can be found on their website. And I also have a page on the Counselling directory. So there's lots of ways of finding me. And I also have a Facebook page. I can be found on Facebook also.
And just sort of thinking in terms of the best, just what you've mentioned to us across, it's such a huge and powerful journey, and people now know how to get in touch with you to have that for themselves, which is fantastic. But if you could leave anyone who's watching this today, just sort of maybe with a pearl of wisdom or a nugget or something, just to sort of take away with them, what would you say?
Gosh, I mean, there's so many things, and we've touched on self-compassion, which I think is huge. But I think all of these things are about finding that moment so that you are responding to situations rather than reacting without really understanding where that is coming from. And you get that once you've got a core understanding of yourself, you're able to respond in the way that you would like to, rather than, you know, flip your lid or lose control or say something that you don't mean. Um, yeah. So I guess that's my nugget. Yeah.
I think that's amazing, and I love that. You know, learning, because there's such a huge difference between responding and reacting as
Yeah.
well. So, you know, so thank you so much, you know, sort of for sharing that with us.
You're very
And,
well.
you know, and also thank you so much for your time today. It's been absolutely, you know, fascinating chatting with you and getting, you know, touching on so much in such a short space.
Absolutely. Well, it's been lovely to see you too, and I'm sorry that we're not able to do these things in person at the moment.
I know. And just before we go, there's just one thing now that just sort of jumped into my mind just
Yeah.
before we go there. I sort of thought is, so in terms now with COVID-19 and with the pandemic and the world the way it is, have you noticed any changes sort of in people from it?
Wow. So yes. Although I think one of the things that's interesting about this situation is that things that would normally come up in people's lives are brought to the fore by this. So I think for lots of people there have been situations that they've kind of muddled by in, and filled their world, and then that having to stop means that things, or not being able to get out, means that things come to the fore, I think. And I think that there's definitely issues around relationships, and around working times, and about, anxieties about home and safety and being able to feed the family and all of those things. And I think all of those things were always there but dampened down a bit. I think it's brought things to the fore.
Absolutely. So now more than ever, if somebody needs help around family, around finances, around everything that's going on, now's the time to get in touch.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And it takes courage and strength to reach out and ask for help. It's a sign of strength, not weakness.
Absolutely. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you so much. And to everyone who's watching, roll back the replay, get Adrienne's details, and be in touch. Thank you so much for your time today.
No, thank you. Lovely to do this.
Take care.
You too. Bye.